Good morning. It's a little different than standing up in front of a classroom. I'm here because a couple of weeks ago, Pastor Wade was preaching and he said something that it just resonated in me, I think probably more than anything ever has. And he said, we have to stop killing our babies. It just hit me. And that evening I shared a story that was shared with me many years ago. It was a story that I'll never forget, but I think that the story needs to be shared. So I want to share that story with you. A long time ago, I was told from a woman who grew up in a really rough home. She was unfortunately molested by her father. Her mother was mentally ill. She had a really rough childhood. And so at the age of 16, she was forced to quit school, never went past the 10th grade. And when she turned 18, of course, all she wanted to do was get out of the house. So she married the first man that she could, and she had 2 children. And marriage didn't last very long. She was divorced. And she found herself divorced in a time when that was very frowned upon. 2 children, no home, no parents to turn to, and completely lost. She then, maybe a year later, it got worse. She became pregnant. She didn't know what to do. This was at a time when abortion was illegal, but that wasn't gonna stop her. She went to her best friend and said, I cannot have this baby. I'm divorced, I already have 2 children, I have no money, and this will ruin me. So her and her best friend decided that they should try to abort this baby. They went and they got a coat hanger, and they tried to abort this baby. Once the woman started to bleed profusely, they decided to go to the hospital. And thinking that the abortion was successful because of the amount of blood, she was in the hospital and the doctor came to her and said, we have great news, there's still a heartbeat. Not great for the woman. So she decided to, after that, go to the father and said, I'm pregnant and we can't have this baby. And the father agreed. So they decided to go to Mexico, where abortion was illegal. However, if you had enough money, they would perform it. So she went to the doctor. They went to Mexico, and they went to the first doctor, and they walked in, and for some reason, the doctor said, I will not perform this abortion. And the woman had said, I think it's because we looked young, we were white, and we looked like we had money, and they wanted money. And so they said fine. They got back in the car and they went to the second doctor in Mexico, and they got the same response. No, we're not going to perform this abortion. They got back in the car, and again they went to a third doctor, and that third doctor turned them down once again. And they got back in the car and they said, what do we do? And the father said, I guess we have to get married. So in January of 1969, they got married. And the real blessing of the story was that 7 months later, she gave birth to me. And that bond between my mother and me is so unbreakable. My mom was desperate. She didn't know what to do. And she thought her life was over. And the wonderful thing about it is that no matter what you go through in your life, no matter how desperate you feel, God knows what he's doing. There are no mistakes. There are no accidents. God is the Redeemer. And although I would love to say they lived happily ever after, they did not. My father was very abusive and alcoholic. But during all of that, my mom always told me, you got me through this. The me that wasn't supposed to be there, the me that didn't have a voice or a choice. And I lost my mom 4 months ago. She had dementia. And it was really hard to watch her go through that, and I miss her so much. But the bond that we had because of what we went through, she said I saved her in more ways than one. And I remember when I was 16, she came to me and said, "Did you know that you can't get to heaven unless you accept Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior?" And I said, "No, how do I do that?" And she led me in a prayer. So this life that my mom thought she needed to get rid of, she gave birth to, and then led me to my physical life and then my spiritual life. And I know I will see my mom again in heaven. I know she's there, and I know she's waiting for me. But we have a very important amendment coming up on our election. We have to stop killing our babies. And I just want to thank God for saving me way more than once. But I wouldn't be here, my husband wouldn't be here, my children wouldn't be here. And hopefully someday you'll be able to hear my daughter's testimony, because she too became pregnant with a very wanted third child, but every doctor told her to abort the baby because it has 0% chance of survival, 0. And I won't tell her testimony, but he will be 4 next month. And there's nothing wrong with him. He's perfectly, very rambunctious 4-year-old. So God is so good, but we need to vote with our hearts. And we have to let millions of children that could possibly have been standing up here giving their testimony the chance. I didn't have a choice or a voice, but now I do. And so we have to vote. We have to stop killing our babies. That's all I'm just going to keep saying. Thank you so much.